Hi, and welcome to this episode of Archicad Basic Training. And in this lesson, we're going to cover how to place views into your layout book or your layouts. So um, basically, you want to initially save your views into your view map, and you want to do that very methodically. You want to make sure that all your views are have settings associated with it. So what that means is if I go to my layer settings and I make some adjustments to my layers and I don't create a layer combination that represents the view that I'm looking at, what will happen is I'll have this show up which says custom. So that's a very poor method of creating a drawing set, because later what happens is you don't have this information is not transferable to other drawings. So if you have multiple drawings that you want to show the same exact information or the same layers or things like that, you wouldn't be able to transfer kind of this body of knowledge or these settings to another drawing. So just kind of the best practices, even if you do go in here and you're like, I need to hide that, but I also, I don't want to see the roof. I do want to see the dimensions. And if you do go in here and let's just try this. So I'm going to create a new save current view by right clicking on it. So I'm going to save the current view. I'm going to leave it at custom for now, and then I'm going to create it. So now I've created this first floor plan here. It's representing the information here in a certain way. And now let's just take it a step further. So let's put it onto the floor plan. So let's get rid of that one. So we'll drop this one in here. So this is a representation of what I just created, and I've saved it and placed it. Okay, so basically what I've done is I've taken this information, I drag it across, and I can place it. I can also go back here, and if I have this, if I'm on this sheet here, so this sheet A103 new first floor plan, which is the same as this one here, in which I can see that drawing that I placed, which is called B3 first floor, that is the drawing. But if I just want to right click, I can also say save view and place on layout. So that essentially is the same method, or it's a similar method as this other one. So now if I get in here, I can make adjustments. Let's just delete one so we don't have any redundancy. And I can, and then let's just place this on C4. Oh, so that B3 is coming from this cell. So if I move this cell up here, it'll change to D5 because it's picking up this name from this corner right here. And I can go back and I can actually look at where that is actually being picked up actually. So if I go to the master layout settings, right click, and if I go to master layout settings, if I go to grid setup, so it's the drawing occupying multiple cells should use the drawing ID from the cell at the bottom left. So we'll go back. So from my master layout settings, which is this grayed out box in the background, that is saying that master layout saying is defining where that information is being picked up. So let's just look at that really quickly, and we'll go into. So I'm going to look for the master that's associated with this. So that's one reason why I I pick up the drawing. I go to the master layout settings by going this way instead of going this way, because, for one thing, there should be some kind of identification that says that you're on this in this layout setting, but it is found here. So it's saying I'm on architectural. So what it's saying here is that I'm on the master layout Arch F. So if I go over here and look for Arch F, which is one of these, so that's the detail grid. So if I right click, or if I go to settings and go back here, and if I say instead of wanting it to be on the bottom left, if I wanted it to be on the top right, I say okay, it should change it. But maybe it's not the right drawing, so let's go back to this one. Let's go to layout, and we'll just make this top right. Yeah, so it was the other drawing, so it was this Arch F one. So you can see what it did is it changed the where it's picking that information up. Instead of it being on the bottom left, now it's picking it up from the top right. All right. So say, for instance, now I've placed, multiple drawings, and I want to change this, or I want to use the settings. So we're going to do two things. We're going to go back to this. So for one thing, I actually want to be careful, because what is going on right now is why you don't want to have custom settings associated with this. Because there's one way that I can adjust this. So if I go to if I go to modify source view settings, so all the settings that are associated with that drawing are listed here. So I have custom. I have 1.5 to a foot scale and the entire model. And all of these different settings are associated with this. But say, for instance, I'm not satisfied with the layer combination that's being represented here. I can go through and adjust it here, but if you have it in a custom setting and you do change it to plumbing or site plan or some other layer combination, you will lose that layer combination, because it is a custom unsaved layer combination that you've created. So before I do that, let's just go back. Let's open the source view. And so now we're back at that view, and I'm just going to change the pins because they're kind of bothering me. So now we have the pins, and I just adjusted them, but my layers are still custom. So if I go to my layer settings, and I want to retain whatever this custom setting is, then I can just say, I don't know, we'll just call it test floor plan. I would just call it new floor plan. So I put the layer combination there, and if I say OK, it changes it here. But more importantly, when I go here and I go to open source view, oops, sorry, I didn't want to open source view. If I go to modify source view settings, it still says custom, but I have that option to go to that location. And since I've already changed it, it saves that view. So again, if you go to modify source view settings, you can adjust the layers. You can adjust basically everything you see, the scale, and without having to necessarily go back into the drawing itself. And with that, let's take a break and join me in the next episode of Placing Saved Views. And thanks for joining me.